Hello everybody, welcome back to Clackroom Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a video on something I've been planning for a while now. If you don't already know, I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad. I love it. It is my favourite show on the planet. Just because of the themes and the meanings of the show and the messages conveyed, and how much they treat the messages with reference, and just everything that they kind of aim to portray, they do it very well. And if you didn't already know, I'm also a big fan of The Walking Dead for the very similar reason. Walking Dead is my second favourite show, and it doesn't really have anything to do with like the whole zombie aspect of it, because I don't really care about that much. I just like how it has kind of similar meanings. They're two shows that aim to portray a lot. They give a lot. They convey a lot of meaning, and they show what it's like to grow and develop, and who kind of would change under certain circumstances, and basically explore a lot of psychological depth. And I like that because not a lot of shows do that much anymore anyway. But because it was very big in the back in the day, everything was like psychologically based, and now it's just like there's not a lot of many shows where the characters change. Like if you look at most shows, the character will stay the same from beginning to end. And it's just nice to see how they play out. Now, basically what I was aiming for this video was to just compare. Now, I'm not going to be doing shows because I feel like my opinion would match the general populace of, who have watched these shows. And I think that we would all agree that Breaking Bad is probably the better written and executed show. Now it's hard to say that because obviously they're both very different, obviously with themes, and obviously Breaking Bad's more realistic, obviously. But these shows were both on AMC. They were very big back in the day, and they're still very big now. But it's like I guess it's kind of easy to say which one's better, because Breaking Bad ended 10 years ago, and even though the franchise ended, like the franchise itself ended very recently, Breaking Bad the itself ended 10 years ago, and it's still heavily talked about, whereas Walking Dead main show ended like 2022, and it's obviously it's still talked about, but that's difficult to say if that's just because it's very good or because it ended not that long ago, and because obviously they've still got franchises including the main characters going on now. So it's hard to decipher, but I'd assume it's Breaking Bad because it definitely had a lot better reception than Walking Dead did. But The Walking Dead's still like a very good show, and I can't shit on it or anything, because it is very liked and it's still cared for, although a lot of the stuff that they're doing could just be like money schemes, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know the validity of how passionate they are about it, but I wanted to explore Walter White versus Rick Grimes, and this won't be a long video just because I already have the answer, and there's no bias or anything. I would say it is Walter White. Reason being is because I think Walter White again is something that you would see a lot. Like it's definitely, Walter White was always the way he was. Now what I mean by that is, I think Walter White was always deep down this bad guy. He'd never done anything bad, but just because you have never done anything bad doesn't mean you're a good person. I made a little quote the other day, which I'm really proud of. It was something along the lines of, your actions leave a legacy, not your emotion. And it's true. If you have a good person that does bad things and a bad person that does good things, who is overall the most liked person? It would be the bad person who does good things, because what they're doing is good. They're not doing anything to hurt anybody. So it's like it's Walter White was always like that. He just never really, he was too much of a pushover to do anything about it until the last straw was pulled, and that was cancer. Whereas Rick Grimes was a bit different. I feel like Rick Grimes was a person who changed who he was. Walter White just became more amplified and started showing who he was, whereas Rick Grimes changed who he was. It's said that when he was a family man before the apocalypse, he was I guess like not a pushover or anything, he was just very chill. He wouldn't argue with his wife when his wife was arguing with him, and that pissed her off because she wanted him to, show that he cared, and he just didn't, because I don't know, he just wasn't the type to do that. And he was very friendly, and in the first 2 seasons, he had conflict with who he was and who he wanted to be and who he needed to be. And then the last straw, obviously, was killing his best friend, which kind of allowed him to change and be who he needed to be. And then obviously after that, it kind of shows him do whatever he needs to protect his family and kill whoever he needs to and do whatever he needs to do. And that's being a leader. He had to be the leader because no one else could be, and he killed people that he didn't want to kill, and he did things he didn't want to have to do because he needed to protect the people he loved, most notably his kids. So which one stands out to me would probably be Walter White, because it is very realistic. It's obviously, again, it's different because we've never had a zombie apocalypse, so it's like, without those circumstances you wouldn't really know the I guess like the correct comparison of the two, if you know what I mean. You don't know how you'd be in a zombie apocalypse unless a zombie apocalypse would happen. You don't know if you'd be a really good person, or you don't know if you'd adapt into what you needed to become. Whereas Walter White, given the circumstances, very realistic, because I am under the personal belief that you can't change who you are. I think you can amplify it, and I think you can weaken it, but at the end of the day, I really don't think that you can change your nature. I think it's just, who you are is definitely a mix of nature and nurture, but I think at the end of the day, nature has a more prominent role, and I think that, you do become who you're born to be. Maybe it can be oppressed if, the right circumstances are put on, but I think that you can't completely change. So with that being said, I think it is literally just got to go to Walter White, because Walter White doesn't change who he is. He's always doing the most messed up shit because he's okay with it, and obviously he was a lot better earlier on. He had a lot of self conflict with the killing of Crazy 8, but then after it he didn't really grieve or feel bad. I mean, he was put under a lot of pressure because Crazy 8 was still alive, but once the threat was eliminated he kind of felt a lot better. Whereas a lot of good people would haunt them, even if they were under the presence of the, if they didn't do that they would die. You would still feel a bit bad, whereas he didn't, and he found it easier to kill later on and just didn't give a fuck. Whereas what Rick does stays it stays with him a lot. So when it comes to realism, definitely Walter White. Obviously Rick Grimes is the better person. Obviously that's common sense. He's whatever he does haunts him and it stays with him. But I think Walter's is more realistic because he becomes too broken to the point where he can't be put back together again, and the only people he really cares about are family. Unless your family, you don't matter to him. You're just collateral, and he doesn't give a fuck. But anyway, we're going to end the video there. I just felt like making this video because they are two of my favourite written characters across fiction, and they both portray a lot of meaning and symbolism, and you can really learn a lot from watching both shows. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.